Hey, this is Zaklog the Great. So, imagine you worked in an office with this guy, Steve. Now, for some reason, the boss really likes Steve. You can't see why, but Steve is a real favorite of your boss. In fact, your boss likes Steve so much that he will not allow anyone there to criticize Steve. Anyone who says anything bad about Steve could get in serious trouble, even be fired. These rules don't apply to anyone else, by the way, just Steve. Now, how do you think you'd feel about Steve? How do you think you and everyone else in the office would get along with Steve? Let's make this as easy as possible. Let's say Steve isn't a bad guy. He's pretty easy to get along with. But Steve is human. He's not perfect. Sometimes he makes mistakes. Sometimes his work is late. But remember, you're not allowed to say anything bad about Steve. That would be anti-Stevetic. That could get you in trouble. That would be frustrating, huh? In fact, it wouldn't be too long before it got downright infuriating. What if your blueprints depended on Steve's calculations and Steve made a mistake? Well, guess you gotta take the hit on that one. Keep your mouth shut. It's your fault now. After all, explaining Steve is at fault, well, you're not allowed to do that. How would you feel about Steve? A bit anti-Stevetic, perhaps? But what if it were worse? What if Steve had a habit of constantly nitpicking everyone else, of offering helpful advice that no one ever asked for? Of course, any helpful advice offered in return is a form of criticism. And criticizing Steve is strictly forbidden. You could get in trouble with the boss for that kind of anti-Stevetic talk. How would you feel about Steve then? But here's the problem. Again, let's say Steve isn't a bad guy. But he's only human. He responds to incentives. Steve knows, just like everybody else, that criticizing him is not allowed. So how would he act? Even if he started out with the best of intentions, Steve is going to start getting sloppy on his work. Maybe showing up late, not completing projects on time. It's inevitable. Without feedback, without even the possibility of feedback, people go off the rails. And again, watching this happen and not being able to say a word, how would you feel about Steve? It's obvious, isn't it? These rules, this forbidding of anti-Stevetic remarks, is not a good plan for peace and harmony with Steve. They may produce the appearance of goodwill, but human nature being what it is, they will create carelessness and misbehavior on one side and a deep well of resentment on the other. Steve, if you're listening, for your own sake, you should probably just let people speak their minds. God be with you.